As a small team, it doesn't matter if you have the best strategy and tactics and vision in the world. If you cannot execute on your grand ideas, frankly, they don't matter. Kids in primary school aren't walking around thinking, gee golly, wouldn't I like to be an operations person? No. Execution is a skill that results from taking specific actions on a repeating cadence. In fact, there are just two tactics, and if you do these, your strategic plans will not only stay front of mind, but you'll be far more likely to actually get them done. So let's cut to my interview with my friend Susan, who's going to explain it all to us.
I really think the most important piece is, how do we take this plan, this vision that we want it to be, and actually go about making it a reality? Because as long as your time frame, as long as you have a flexible time frame, you can spread this out over a long time, you can accomplish whatever you want.
Right.
Mostly. Outside of societal constraints and, systemic stuff. But the longer you have and the more flexible you can be about timeline and specificity, you can pull a whole bunch of levers to make your whole dream a reality. Just might take longer, more effort, more money than you thought it would. So you got to spread your time out.
Interesting. So at this step, it sounds like we're mapping it to our available resources, which is time, money, attention, whatever that. We're trying to picturing it almost like overlaying calendars here, where we're trying to figure out where does this fit.
Kind of. I think it's calendars. It's your financial planning is a really big part of this, because money solves a lot of problems. If you have a lot of money, you can throw money at a problem and make it speed up or make it easier for
Yeah.
you. Or so financial resources are always a big component. Time resources, energetic is a big thing. If this is a really big creative project, maybe you
Yeah.
need to be able to plan a sabbatical to only focus on this
Mm.
project if that's your most important thing. And so there's a lot of other things that come up when you start trying to tie this into reality.
Makes a lot of sense. It's kind of reminding me of like how authors approach things versus how, mass media creators approach things. Like we all need to find that different balance based on the kind of work we're doing. Hey, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Well, let's say we have this down. We figured out, a grab bag works really well for me. I want to have 3 things that I could work on at any point in the coming period. They're there, they're amazing. I put them inside my tool of choice and my systems of choice. My next question is like, how do I make sure this continues to get attention? Like, first of all, to challenge it if maybe my plans need to change, but also like, I've got a lot of other shit I have to do. I've got regular small business clients as my design firm. I've got, my family to deal with. I feel like there's a likelihood that I just kind of ignore this.
And a lot of times, being real, that does happen. Like,
Mhm.
the way I avoid it is, again, I'm only doing one project at a time. So I am picking up something that makes me excited. So I do actually want to work on this thing because it aligns with how my brain is thinking or how my energy is thinking at this point in time. And I also do keep it visible. So when I go and I'm like, cool, this is the plan, that project, I actually have mapped out most of the tasks and when I think they should happen. I tend to
Mm.
readjust that every week. So on Friday, I have a process where I go through everything that didn't happen that week. I sit through and try and figure out, like, why didn't it happen? Do I not want to do this? Is it not important? Did I not have the
Mhm.
time to do it? And I'll go
Mhm.
reschedule them so the project is still consistently moving along. But I
Right.
also tend to segment out my days. So I'm somebody who, I can't do context switching. I really hate context switching. So I have days blocked out during the week where I don't have any calls. I don't have any meetings. I don't have any like tasks for my business that are
Yeah.
required. I have it as, this is a day for me to work on the most important project to me today. So
Mm.
having actual white space that is committed to moving those initiatives forward, I think is a component that is usually, um, again, when we're talking about putting resources to this project, one of those things is time. Actually finding the time to do this thing is an important
Oh, yeah.
component too, because it's really easy for things to fall off the list when you're saying, uh, cool, cool, cool. Like, a client emailed me. Now I've got to do that instead. But if you have time that's already committed to working on your goals, in whatever way that works for you. So for some people, it's an hour every
Mhm.
day. For me, it's I need an entire day or 2 days. Or I've even sometimes like I block off a week ahead of time
Mm,
when I know it's something like it's a project that is one of those projects where you really got to get in it and you can't go in and pop out, in and pop out. I'll just proactively block off a week on my calendar so nobody can book any
love that.
meetings. And then I end up with essentially like a little mini work retreat.
What I like about this is that when we're trying to keep things visible, it's not always a matter of, all right, I need to have everything dated and scheduled and waterfall planned. But it's as much as just saying, hey, I commit to always working towards this. It's almost like a gym workout. Like I can't be like, I'm going to get my beach body by, July. But instead it's like I will carve out 1 hour a week to get slightly stronger.
Yep. A
Great.
lot of people I've seen, if you're familiar with like the 80-20 rule
Uh-huh.
where, spend 80% of your time or 80% of your effort on the things that make your business run, spend
Mhm.
20% of the time on growth things or things that are important to you. For me, that ends up
Mhm.
as basically 1 day a week.
Very
One
cool.
one day a week is 20% of your time if you're working a
Ah,
5-day work week, which I don't, but
good work out.
but if you're somebody who is working a 5-day work week, 1 day is a fifth.
Love that. Well, what happens is there anything else that happens after this step in our planning process? We've got our plan, we've carved out, let's say, a quarter of our time or 20% of our time, 1 day of our 5-day traditional work week, and we're working towards this goal. I mean, can we safely say strategic plan done, or are there anything else that you do along this journey that you found helpful?
So I don't think it's ever done. To me, strategic planning, it's a living, breathing part of what happens in your business, or at least it should be.
Mhm,
It should not be, we did it, check the box, it's done. It should
mhm,
live in all of the work that you're doing. So one of the, I think there's two things that I do. One is once you've figured out that this is what you're doing, and you have figured out what are the indicators that are showing that I'm making progress toward this goal. So
ah,
once you have your
yes.
KPIs, make sure your KPIs live somewhere you can pay attention to them, regardless of what that
Mm,
KPI is. And very often, they end up a little squishier than you might think. So when we think of KPIs, we're thinking about revenue or number of
mhm,
clients signed, or but you can make KPIs around anything, even something like as squishy as a feeling. How do I
mm,
feel? How happy am I? How relaxed am I? How calm am I? And so the KPIs, the things that are going to tell you whether or not you are um, making progress, those
hmm,
are important to both set. You want to know what does success look like. You want to know how
mhm.
are you going to know that you're on your way, and then the piece that is like really important is actually looking at them. So
Wait, I have to look at them?
so
Hold
having
on.
some sort
Whoa.
of reflection or analysis process. For me, it looks like I do a weekly reflection. So at the end of each week, I will review. I do, what are my wins? What are 3 things that worked and what could that mean? What are 3 things that didn't work and what could that mean? I kind of note any changes, decisions, um, thoughts that I need to have. So for me, it's somewhat of a personal reflection. But as part of that process, I have a little button that says, go review your monthly, what you set monthly that you wanted to do this month and see how you're making progress on it. Go look at your quarterly to see how you're making progress on that. And also go look at any KPIs that you are currently measuring. So for me, I have like just standard KPIs that are like kind of always exist in the business. And then I usually have like, I call them kind of experimental or project based KPIs. So these are KPIs that like
Mm,
change based on what it is that you're currently focusing on, because we don't want to measure and look at too many things because then we can't take action on
yeah.
all of them. Um, so go reflect back on the goals and KPIs and things that you thought were going to happen, and actually pay attention to how are things going now so that you can consistently be adjusting and iterating. So the strategic planning process as a whole should be something that is built into your business and built into your kind of everyday processes.
I have a team. And I think one of the things that's going to come up here is, all right, great, I can do this reflection, but like, how do I get this level of focus and prioritization and understanding to become something we're all getting? Is there a way we can adapt the same kind of weekly review or something here into a team component? Because I feel like
Sure,
that alignment
absolutely.
would be very valuable. What does that look like?
So for the way I tend to implement this in organizations is, if you have a regular stand up or a regular standing meeting of any kind, that can also be asynchronous. It does not have to be an in-person live meeting, but as part of whatever like stand up process you have, incorporate this. Make reviewing whatever it is, however you decided to evaluate this, part of that agenda, part of that review process. You can also do things like create dashboards that track your data geek here. Create a dashboard that tracks your progress and let the team have access to it and use it when you're doing these reflections and talk about, hey, we our goal by this point in time was actually this indicator. We didn't hit that. What does that mean? What should we adjust? Should we adjust the rest of the plan? Should we adjust our approach? Is our assumptions wrong? So
Mhm.
that is a really good use case. Um, Not necessarily for a meeting, but for a touch pace with your team so that it can be a
Ah,
collective process. Because likely when you go, oh, we didn't hit a goal, why is that? There's probably somebody on your team that knows why that was. And
mhm.
it might not be what you expected it to be. Maybe you thought in order to get this award, you actually needed to go um, attend a whole bunch of meetings by the design firm that's going to award the award.
Yeah, it's a
And
wine and dine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, so maybe one of your KPIs was make connections with all of the members of the committee that does this thing, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So you can actually put trackers to that. You
Right.
can say, I've made contact with this person. I have had
Hmm.
lunch with this person. I bought this person coffee. Whatever
Yeah.
steps you decide, you could track those and see the actual way you are making progress towards your goal. And reflecting on that helps you do a better job of actually accomplishing that goal because you can adjust along the way and you can um, readdress your assumptions.
Hmm. I love the idea of having bribery score as a key metric for this local business award.
I mean, but like for real, all
But
these
yeah.
awards are just who you know. So figure out how to know them.
The thing I love about chatting with Susan is not only can we joke about operations people being soul crushers, but the stuff she recommends is so simple. It's so doable. It's not going to make me or you any less visionary if we create a task to report on numbers. It's not going to make you or I any less creative if we have a task in our project template that says, hey, whoever's in charge of this project, report on the numbers weekly. These are little tiny adjustments that you can do right now before you finish watching this video, and it will automatically increase the likelihood of execution really being done well. The challenge that founders and creators and entrepreneurs have isn't not having enough ideas. It's not being visionary enough for most of us. It's that we have these great ideas and then we don't have the connection, the link in the chain to get our ideas to become reality. And that is really our job. And Susan's suggestion, which I can also say with firsthand experience, makes a huge difference to move things in the right direction. If you enjoyed this video, please do comment the word yes below to let me know to create more videos like this. You can find Susan's information down in the description below this video while you're down there. And until next time, enjoy the process.